rather than try to make once more. Well, I asked, you voted, and the results speak for themselves. Looks like the birthday run is on Oblivion this time around. I am legitimately shocked that Skyrim did not win. Figured it was all but certain given its bigger player and fan base. Granted, Oblivion is by far my favourite Bethesda title, so I am more than happy with this outcome. Oh, Fable, I'm sure your time will come. Eventually. We shall keep this brief. Like before, the rules are as follows. I am only allowed to use items, armor, weapons, whatever that are given to me specifically. Unlike Fallout, the Elder Scrolls series has some, shall we say, more magical ways of getting rewards that should come in very handy. Also, much like those Fallout videos, I imagine it's going to be primarily a melee focused run. Of course, that's more than fitting and doable given the fantasy setting, but I'm just reiterating that point so people don't keep asking me to go and buy arrows. Gold can only be used to pay for services such as repairs, recharging magical items, or renting out rooms at an inn. I feel like it would be kind of boring if I just earned a bunch of money and then bought high quality gear. That about covers the basics, so anything else we can talk about when the time comes. So with all that out of the way, let's begin. Character creation is more important than ever, or to be more specific, race selection. The different racial perks and powers can quite literally determine how this plays out. After much consideration, I figured that Breton was the winning play. They start with a natural 50% resistance to all forms of magic, which is going to come in super handy when fighting the numerous mages in the main quest. They also have the gift of the dragon skin power, which can be activated once per day, which is an incredibly useful 50% shield spell which lasts for an entire minute. This means with both active at once, at least for a minute, I will become a complete defensive wall regardless of whatever armor that I'm wearing. I can't say I'm going to be able to make use of the Breton's starting stats that make them more proficient mages, as very few spells are just outright given to you, but that's alright. It won't take long to turn my guy here into a rather effective killing warrior. I name him Splat, one part because I had plans to use a warhammer for most of the run, and because his face looks like this. Now in control, it's the usual song and dance, get berated by Vale and Dreth, wait for the blades, walk to the back of the cell, and then listen to Patrick Stewart inform you that you're the most beautiful person that he has ever laid eyes on. I don't have a way to defend myself throughout the prison escape as you're not given any weapons, and much like the other runs, I decided using my fists was off the table. Fortunately, the blades can cut down the Mythic Dawn with ease. Shame about their captain though. Once they leave and Boris just clearly ignores the rat trying to kill me, we immediately run into our first issue. Ignoring the enemies is simple enough, but the door that we need to pass is locked. You can either pick the lock with the nearby lockpicks, or take the key from the dead goblin and open it that way. So both actions require me to take and use something that is not given to me. Neither of them are quest items either, as they're not flagged as so and can both be dropped, meaning we can't even use that card to justify our actions. So in other words, the run is already failed. That has to be a new record. Honestly, kind of impressed. So, for a peek behind the curtain, so to speak, this was my initial plan, regardless for the birthday run, but when I ran into this issue right at the start, I quickly just shifted gears to Skyrim. I even made another Breton called Splat 2.0 for the occasion. Long story short, I got as far as defeating the first dragon outside of Whiterun before I decided on the idea of putting the run to a vote, thanks in large part to suggestion from people on my Twitter. Of course, Oblivion then won, so I figured, you know what, people want to see it, so I might as well just go through with it. So no, while you cannot beat Oblivion with only gifts and rewards, let's just keep going with the field journey, as for nothing else, I figured it would still be fun to see how the rest of the game plays out under these restrictions. Plus, we can toss up a little counter to figure out how many times the run will actually fail throughout, just to see how impossible it really is. Also, yes, I am keeping that Skyrim footage, meaning I'll have a head start on next year's run. Anyway, I grab the key, open the door, and then toss said key to rid myself of its failure, but not really. Not much more to go over from this point in the prison if we're being honest. The enemies are obviously incredibly weak, so running past and avoiding them is all too easy. Meeting back up with the boys, I let them deal with the assassins for a moment, while I then speak with the Emperor and tell him today is my birthday. Basic stuff, I go with Warrior for extra damage from Strength and extra health from Endurance. Just seemed too good to pass up. Boris also hands me a torch here. This is genuinely great, as torches don't have an overall time limit on them in Oblivion as far as I'm aware. What I mean by that is if you put the torch away, I'm pretty sure its timer before extinguishing resets. Meaning, so long as I'm not using the thing for long periods of time, I now have a permanent light source for the rest of the run. Granted, I know this game like the back of my hand, I don't necessarily need the light source, but figured it would be handy for all of you, given how dark Oblivion can get at times. Again, the blades do the heavy lifting from here all the way up until the Emperor gets a new hole to breathe out of. Boris charges in to take out the final assassin, and then I get to create my class. Combat, strength, speed, acrobatics, athletics, blade, block, blunt, heavy and light armor. An incredibly straightforward class for making the most out of the skills that will be available to me throughout this run. It's such a simple set of skills in fact, that I give it an appropriate name. After this brief conversation, Boris gives me the key to the exit, I run past a handful of more rats, crabs and goblins, and can then safely make my way outside and start my gift collecting proper. First things first, I won't get very far if I can't defend myself. Well, that's technically a lie, but you know what I mean. I actually want to play the game this time. Many of you may suggest the Blade of Woe, but remember we need to kill someone first before Lucian will give it to us, so it's out of the picture for the time being. No, instead we are going to think a little outside the box. Not completely, not yet anyway. What I mean is sometimes they don't have to be permanent gifts. Heading to the Shiedenhall chapter of the Fighters Guild and we can speak with Burzcrew Cash about becoming a member. It's a free trial, but he still asks us for our credit card info anyway, regardless we get to join. The reason we are here in particular is that Burrs has a job for us right off the bat. He needs somebody to deliver a shipment of weapons to other members in a nearby mine because despite said mine being a 5-minute walk from the town, none of them decided to just come back and get new weapons or repair their own. It's good for us though because the shipment isn't just like a misc crate or something like that, but rather I get a steel warhammer, bow and longsword. All of which are fully functional weapons that we can use. The bow's kinda worthless without arrows, so I really only have a choice between the hammer and the longsword. I stick with the warhammer for the time, not just for my personal preference of big two-handed beating sticks, but without a shield in my offhand to pair with the sword, I feel like I'm not using it to its full potential if I'm not benefiting from the added armor bonus it would bring. Speaking of armor, that's what I went in search of next. This one's incredibly easy, and I dare say most of you saw this coming a mile away. It's the arena armor. You can technically only get one given to you when you first speak with Owen, so I go for the light armor variant. I figured staying light on my feet would be beneficial as it would also help me just to move out of the way of certain attacks. I also know of another set of light armor I can procure shortly after this, so I figured I may as well begin working on the skill. With good offense and defense, it was time to start collecting the next most important item, gold. My equipment was not going to last forever, so now seemed as good a time as any to start collecting a nice sum of cash for the inevitable repairs. Best way to go about that was staying put where I currently was and fighting in the arena. The first two fights go by with what I thought were zero issues. They only have iron weapons, so I am at least one tier above them with my steel, allowing me to quite effortlessly pound them into a fine paste within the arena sand. The problem I had begun to realise was that after only these two fights, my weapon had already degraded to half. Turns out these weapons break down faster than their normal counterparts. While that's not particularly an issue right now as I just switch off to the sword and begin getting results, it's going to become an issue very quickly whenever I have to trek through a longer than normal dungeon for story progression or God forbid Cameron's Paradise where I would have no way to leave and pay for it to be repaired. I know it sounds like I am jumping way ahead here, but it was the first thing that crossed my mind when I saw just how fast they were breaking after killing only 2 normal humanoid enemies. I'm able to get a few more matches in with both weapons before they are at their literal breaking point. I'm also sitting at 550 gold after my winnings, just FYI. With that money, I can take the weapons to a fighting chance in the Imperial City and have them both fixed for a total of 72 gold. I also repair my arena raiment for a single gold piece while I'm there. Clearly, repairs were not going to be as expensive as I initially assumed. Truthfully, despite playing this game for over 15 years, I rarely pay to get my gear fixed outside of magical items, as it's just more beneficial to buy repair hammers and do it yourself for the armorer XP. With the weapons back to pristine condition, what's up next? Well, I figured I may as well grab a weapon that isn't constructed from paper mache, more specifically, the Blade of Woe, so here I go killing again. I didn't exactly feel like having the entire city guard descend upon me like a swarm of locusts, so I made sure to target somebody who was isolated. Anytime I think of that, my mind immediately shifts to Athralor at the camp outside of Kvatch. He spends most of his time in his tent and doesn't put up much of a fight, quite literally the perfect target. Fun fact, back during my first ever playthrough, he was the first innocent I ever murdered. So me doing this now to get the attention of Lucian is giving me some crazy deja vu. The only major difference is I'm not a naked dark elf called Abe this time around. Of course, this piques LeChance's interests, causing him to offer me an initiation contract, and best of all, gifts us the Blade of Woe, our first permanent, non-fragile weapon. The downside to this is that it only does 2 damage, less than the 2 steel weapons I was using before. Beggars can be choosers, so I'll just have to suck it up and deal with it for the time. It was off to the Inn of Ill Omen to put down Rifio, but because they operate on some sort of psychic hive mind bullshit, the guards over in Breville somehow know of me murdering that wood elf outside of Kvatch, and as a result I am forced to head to jail. Not much to lose as of now, so it's not a big deal. Once more, I begin walking the path to the inn. This time, thankfully, not being harassed by guards, but instead just some wolves and your run-of-the-mill bandits. Give me a chance to test out the Blade of Woe, at least. It's fine. Again, damage is depressingly low, but at least it's fast, I suppose. I also bumped into Arano right outside where Rifio was holed up. Due to my brief stint in the Slammer, she offers me the chance to participate in the fetch quest to join the Thieves Guild. Goes without saying, but if there is one guild we most certainly cannot progress through, it is the Thieves Guild. That entire questline is quite literally the exact opposite of what this run is about. Anyway, I head inside the inn, make my way downstairs, and thankfully can manage to one-shot Rufio with the Blade of Woe, so I don't have to engage in a weird runaround down here. I sleep in the bed that Rufio was keeping warm for me, causing LeChance to appear once more and tell me the password to get into the sanctuary back in Cheydinhall. There's just one teeny tiny problem with all of this. The door to the sanctuary is locked and I have no way to pick it. Far as I'm aware, there is not one person who just gives you free lockpicks. I could go buy some, but that goes against my money can only be exchanged for services rule. Someone in the Thieves Guild may give you a few for a quest. Honestly, I don't remember, but like we went over, there is no way I can do that questline without failing going against the major rules of the run. I ponder for a time about what to do, or whether I should just consider the Dark Brotherhood a bust and go try something else. But then, I recall that there is a tower stone just across the lake from the Imperial City waterfront. Heading to this tower and touching it gives me the Warden Key and Master's Hand great powers. The Master's Hand is ultimately useless as it just temporarily increases your armorer skill, but Warden Key is a power that, once per day, can open any lock so long as it doesn't require a key or is very hard. So I can now head back to the Sanctuary, use the power to open the first door, and then use the passphrase to pass the Screaming Whisper door and finally get to be a part of the family. The rewards to come from the quests will certainly be helpful, but truthfully, the best gift I get right away from Uchiva, that of course is the Shrouded Armor and Hood. Not only does it provide ever so slightly more protection than my arena gear, but it also has enchantments on it that improve most of my important stats, primarily an overall plus 10 to my blade skill. With these new gifts, I felt unstoppable. Sounds silly, I know, but I was just happy that I had good armor and a decent weapon for now. I also decided to start working for the Dark Brotherhood. Feel like I can get decently far in their quest line before I'll need to call it quits. May as well see how far and reap the rewards along the way. First up, Captain Tussaud in the Imperial City. No relation to Madame Tussaud's, although his crew are about as observant as wax models, so who can say. Sneaking in via the same trick that gets me into Groznygrad and Snake Eater, I can then slowly make my way through the crew without killing them until I reach my target.
Albion Online is a sandbox MMORPG in which you write your own story.
Unlike Rufio, it's not the cleanest kill. I start with a ×4 sneak attack bonus with the Blade of Woe, which isn't enough to kill him. A few more rapid slashes bring him down to low health, and then for the hell of it, I yield, causing him to sheath his sword immediately and turn his back on this shivving maniac. This lines me up nicely for yet another sneak attack, which promptly ends the fight. I attempted to sneak out the back, but unfortunately the door has a very hard lock on it, so that idea is shot down instantly. Instead, I just leave through the main door, which leads to the deck of the ship. With a little bit of luck, and let's be real, jank, I can exit the cabin right as the other two pirates enter, causing me to flee completely unseen. For my efforts, I am rewarded the Black Band, probably the only ring I'll have access to today. It increases light armor and security by 3 points, but most impressively, it gives me another 3% magic resistance, making for a total of 53% magic negation, which is great. Next up is Bainlin, the elderly wood elf. Not much to go over here. I use the power once more to break through his cellar, and then hide in the crawl space until it's time for him to kiss the Minotaur head. For making the kill look like an accident, I am gifted Sufferthorn as a bonus. Depending on what level you decide to do this quest, this can end up being one of the best daggers in the entire game. Sadly, I'm only level 2, so it leaves a lot to be desired. I mean, I say that, but it has a base damage of 4 along with a damage 5 points of health enchantment, so it's actually the best weapon I have by a substantial margin. The only problem is I need to keep the thing charged, and sadly, that's gonna cost a lot of gold, potentially more than I'll be able to consistently afford throughout the rest of my journey. Alright, so thinking about all of this made me decide I was just gonna pull the band-aid off and reveal my master plan now. But before I do that, there is some setup. I head on over to Waynham Priory and hand over the Amulet of Kings to start the main quest. That's not important right now. What is though, is that I can now ask everyone around the Priory for assistance. Joffrey gives me access to the nearby chest, whose contents I choose to ignore, as again, not directly handed to me, and I am being very stubborn about that today. Brother Piner gives us a skill book, always handy, and Prior Mabel gives us his horse, not useful as I'd rather run to increase my athletics. Outside the building, we can find Erenor. If we ask for his help, he is reluctant at first, but will then give us a repair hammer. This single repair hammer will now allow us access to a weapon that is tied for the highest base damage in the entirety of Oblivion. Let me explain. I already showed off one of those Doomstones earlier, right? The one that now allows me to unlock doors? Well, there are other types of those that for a limited time gift you with bound weapons and armor. The armor is always the same depending on the stone. The weapon, however, is determined by whatever skill is higher, blade or blunt. With blunt, you get an axe, and with blade, you get the two-handed greatsword. Here is that greatsword's stats. As you can see, at max, it can go up to 29 damage, making it the highest damaging unenchanted weapon in the base game, as the only things that rival it are from the Shivering Isles DLC. Now, there is one of these stones down near Leowyn, so we can get ourselves a sword for a time. But as mentioned, it's only temporary, so how much can it truly help? Well, you see, just like real weapons, bound weapons such as these can still degrade over time, only it happens much, much slower. That way they won't break while you're using them. Now, if we were to damage the weapon on some nearby enemies and then go and use that repair hammer we got from Erenor, we can in fact fix the weapon. Cool, right? You don't know the half of it. Due to Oblivion's spaghetti code, for whatever reason, this now allows us to drop the bound weapon as a physical object. Normally, you cannot do this, and any attempt to sheath the weapon would make it disappear permanently. While it is on the ground, we can then wait, because as you can see, the timer for this spell is still active in the top right corner. We want to wait out that timer. Once we do, the armor that we had rightfully disappears. The bound sword, however, is still there. We can then pick it up, and now we have access to a permanent bound weapon that we can equip, sheath, drop, do anything you would with a normal weapon. Hell, you can even enchant it if you want. No matter what, it will never disappear. This also works for any bound weapon or armor, by the way, so you could theoretically get yourself a full suit of this armor and weapons only about an hour or so into the game if you know what you're doing. Also, a bonus fun fact, the weapons and armor are weightless, so you can carry as many as you want. My initial plan when I was considering doing this run for my birthday this year was that I wouldn't use the bound trick until the battle at the Great Gate. However, I then thought, it's my video, it's my birthday, I can do what I want. Plus, let's be real, this is probably the only time I am ever going to get to abuse this glitch in a run, so I may as well savour it for as long as I can. The only thing I decided to not do was go and get all the armor. For one, the repair hammer would more than likely break before I could get it all, and two, this way I'm like a glass cannon build, which should keep things interesting. With the weapon in hand, I figured it made the most sense to just blitz my way through the arena, seeing how most of the common rabble couldn't stop me. I would like to point out that while I did struggle with the Grey Prince and eventually overcame him through sheer determination and the dragon skin power, I wasn't technically the champion. That was Porkchop. In the penultimate fight against the Yellow Team's champion and her two cronies, Porkchop ended up landing the killing blow on all three of them, one after another. He even did most of the work leading up to those kills. Honestly, I was just there to spectate. So, all hail your true Arena Grand Champion, praise be to him and all his glory, may your victories be bloody and your bacon delicious. With the arena over with, I now had the ability to do weekly matches to earn some more gold indefinitely. So long as I am careful with my equipment, I shouldn't need to worry about repairs now. Most of my winnings end up getting spent on skill tutors around the Imperial City. I wanted more levels under my belt to make things more interesting, plus it would be required to get past a certain obstacle in the main quest. Speaking of, despite my new gear, I don't immediately run off and start saving the world from the ever-spawning hell portals. Rather, I take up my next contract for the Dark Brotherhood, one that has me retreading familiar territory, as I am tasked with returning to the section of the Imperial prison I just escaped from in order to assassinate Valen Dreth, the most racist man in all of Tamriel, if his different comments on all the different races are anything to go by. You want to know what the most stressful part of this return trip was? It wasn't the enemies in the sewers, it wasn't even avoiding all the guards on the way back to my cell. No, the most annoying part of all of this was trying to get the Warden spell to unlock these types of damn gates. You have to be so precise with where you hit them, otherwise the power flies right past them and you have to awkwardly wait around for a full 24 hours before getting another shot. In fact, I'm pretty sure you just straight up can't use the spell on Dreth's cell, as after countless tries, it never once connected with the door. You may think this makes the quest impossible given that I cannot just take the key that is sitting on the nearby table, but you would be wrong. Just as the spell passes through the bars, so too can arrows. Making use of the bow from the Fighters Guild shipment quest, we can then end Dreth's miserable existence. If you are wondering how I came about the arrows, it's honestly a lot more straightforward than you might believe. They are the arrows that other combatants hit me with in the arena. Every now and then when you're hit with an arrow, it gets added to your inventory. This goes for Skyrim as well, by the way. Thankfully, I was reduced to a pincushion more times than I care to admit in the arena, so I had enough arrows to forward that kindness onto Vaelendreth. With the job done, I then left the way I came, as I once more cannot take the key that unlocks the door to the upper part of the prison, plus it's an unpickable lock, so the warden power is useless. I sneak past all the guards again, and then return to Vinciente for my reward and bonus due to not killing any of the guards. The bonus this time around is definitely one of the better ones, as the skills of Pitiless Justice grant a permanent +2 to my strength, agility and intelligence stats, so long as I don't remove them from my inventory. The drawback is I lose 2 whole points in personality. God forbid. Anyway, the next contract is the Francois Motieri job, which is different in that we are faking a death by making use of a special one-time poison dagger and some antidote. Well, as both of those are handed to me the moment I start the quest, I can complete it with no problems. Just stab, run, wait, antidote, re-kill, and then deliver, and you're done. Returning to Vicente for the final time, and I get the well key for quicker access to the sanctuary, along with Cruelty's Heart, yet another worthwhile bonus as it grants another 3 points to strength. Also ups willpower, but that's not too useful given my current playstyle and lack of any real spells. At this stage, I have now graduated to working with the Lizard Queen, whose contracts are a bit more varied and involved than before. Easily the best string of quests in the Dark Brotherhood storyline in my opinion. First off, I am tasked with tracking down and taking the life of an elf called Phalion. The only information you get is that he lives in the Imperial City. This means you have to investigate around town, talking to the right folks, meticulously gathering more information until you can pinpoint his exact location, and then strike him whenever the time is right. Or, like me, you have played this game before and you just head straight for the house where you know he'll be shooting up alone and finish the job before it had a real chance to begin. The bonus this time is a unique bow called Shadow Hunt. Can't see it getting a lot of play if I'm honest. Sure, it's possible for me to get arrows, but I just don't think it's worth the time investment or speed holes. Next hit, it was time to dispatch a dying warlord inside his heavily guarded fort. To achieve the bonus, I would not only need to swap out his medicine for a poison to make it seem like he died of natural causes, but I would need to make my way through his base without being detected by his gang. I also realised that around here the game seemed to be dropping frames like crazy for some reason. Thankfully, I was able to fix it by just dashboarding and restarting the game. What I am not able to do though is this quest. Well, I'm not able to do it the intended way at least. While I can sneak past the guards rather easily and make it to the medicine cabinet without being spotted, I am hit with a brick wall, as while I can deposit the poison, I am of course forbidden from taking the medicine. Sadly, you can't just leave the poison to get the bonus, so I opt to just deal with Roderick the old-fashioned way. I then kill most of the crew after the fact. I already failed getting the bonus, may as well practice my blade skill while I'm here. Ochiva isn't best pleased with my bloodthirsty ways, but I'm not torn up about it for long, especially when the next mission is my favourite contract bar none. Whodunit has you travel to a house in Skingrad where 5 other guests have been invited to a Netflix original series where you all trap together and have to find a chest of gold, and they are under the impression they cannot leave until the chest is found. There is of course no gold, and the only reward is eternal slumber. I try to be as fair as possible to these people about them being face to face with their inevitable demise. Not only do I come in my full assassin's getup, but the very first thing I say is that I am here to kill them all. They think I'm hilarious, and then I see about getting to work. The first thing I do is play the persuasion minigame with everybody. That way I can be in all of their good graces, and they are less likely to suspect me whenever the bodies start piling up. Talking with the old woman again, and she suggests we form an alliance to find the gold faster. I agree, and send her down into the basement. Alone. You can see where this is going. Everyone is now on edge as news of the murder has spread. Fortunately, nobody suspects me, despite being the only other person seen entering the basement. I do another round of chats, and this time convince Duvessi to head into Primo's room and wait for him there, seeing how she has the hots for him. This, of course, makes her another easy target. The plan now was to head back downstairs and see about separating the group some more, but to my utter shock and I suppose joy, Neville, the retired soldier of the Empire, was just napping in the very next room. I of course took this golden opportunity to thin out the herd even further. All that leaves is Primo and Nels the Naughty. Given that I was able to convince them both to trust me, neither think I am the killer, and I can now convince one of them that the other is the assassin, and then they will kill them for me. I sway Nels to my way of thinking and get him to do the deed. Figured the giant muscular Nord stood a better chance of winning the fight than the scrawny Imperial noble boy. Sure enough, he ends up one-shotting him, leaving Nels as the sole survivor.
I grew up here, and so did a lot of the girls working the avenue.
That is, until I suffocate him with a nearby plate of muffins. The bonus this time is the Night Mother's Blessing, which is yet more permanent bonuses to my skills. This time it's a further +2 to Sneak, Security, Acrobatics, Blade, and Marksman. Pretty good stuff. I have one more mission for Uchiva, and it is finally taking down Adamus Philida, the Imperial Guard captain who has been disrupting the Dark Brotherhood for years. He has now retired and spends his days in the city of Leowin. No idea why he chose the second worst city behind Bravil to be his retirement home. Also, yes, Kvatch is included in that list. To carry out the deed, I have been gifted a special arrow that will instantly kill him should it hit him outside of his armor. This means, should I wish to make use of it, I will need to figure out when he decides to ditch the suit. Speaking with Tayanava offers you his insight in that he would only remove his armor to sleep or swim. Of course, attacking him in the guard barracks, sleeping or not, is just asking for trouble, so we need to find out when he is going to decide to take a dip. This is as easy as just waiting around the local pool until you see him begin to approach. Took a minute to find a location where I wasn't in his or anyone else's line of sight, but as soon as I did, I let the arrow fly and quickly wrapped up the mission. To be fair, I could have just stabbed him, using the arrow isn't even required for the bonus. To get that, you must remove his finger and leave it in the desk of his replacement back in the Imperial City. Of course, I can't loot his body, therefore going full Gollum on his finger is out of the question. Granted, the bonus this time around is just more cash, so I won't lose any sleep over it. With that done, I'm told to go and meet back up with Lucian again, as he has a special order for me. I'm supposed to travel through the fort and make my way through its traps and monsters before facing LeChance, but I'm also aware of the nearby secret entrance in the tree that will skip the entire thing and take me right to him. He tells me that his superiors believe there's a traitor in the Shadenhall Sanctuary, and that they have known about it since before we joined, therefore we are not a suspect. He then decides that the only course of action is a good old-fashioned purge. We happily oblige. I didn't silently kill them, as ironic as that would be. No, rather I charged in head first and just began swinging until the game told me to stop. The only annoyance was that Talandril was on her way to Leowin during this, so I had to track her down on foot. Well, I tried to run after her, hoping to take her out on the road, but as you can see, every time I got close to the quest marker, that is her by the way, it would suddenly jump a huge ways down the road. This happened 3 times before I just said the hell with it and travelled to Leowin and waited for her there. As soon as she arrived, I attacked her on sight and dealt with her before she had a chance to retaliate. Surprisingly, this did not gain the attention of the guards, or anyone for that matter. I guess they don't really care given the whole assassin thing. I return one final time to Lucian and he accepts me into the Black Hand, and now all of my contracts will come directly from dead drops left by him. There is only one problem with that: the dead drops are notes, placed in containers. This means I cannot continue with the Dark Brotherhood storyline, and before anyone asks, no, you cannot read books that are inside containers like you can in Skyrim. I tried. So in other words, the only way to receive my next quest is to specifically loot the dead drop, which is against the rules. Not much can be done about it, I'm afraid, so it was off to do other things once more. At this point, I began spending my gold at various trainers again. Not so much for the skills they were providing specifically, but because they were helping me level up. With all of the gold that I had, I was able to level up twice to level 5, and in turn, pay for 10 different lessons. Now was probably as good a time as any to get the ball rolling on the main quest, so it was off to Kvatch. I initially bypassed the gate, as people have mentioned in the comments before that you don't have to close the gate to get Martin, you only need to get rid of the Daedra outside the chapel in the city. So I do that, as the only annoying Daedra they have so far are Clanfear runts. As usual, what makes them a pain is they reflect a certain percentage of physical damage right back at you, so I suppose I'm my own worst enemy here. The rest of the invading force is mostly made up of scamps and your occasional Dremora, so nothing too out of the ordinary for our current level. After the outside is clear, I enter the chapel, and wouldn't you know it, Martin still refuses to leave these people to their fate until I can close the Oblivion Gate. Guess we're making a trip to hell then. It's the first gate and I'm still a relatively low level, so Oblivion isn't punishing me too hard just yet for my terrible stat allocations. The sword is clearly carrying me, that much is clear. The game doesn't really expect you to have this kind of damage this early on. I am savouring every second of it I can before they start to scale with me. All is going well, right up until I confront, fight and easily kill the Dremora Sigil Keeper. He holds the key to the higher part of the tower that I need to get to in order to close the gate. It's also one of those doors where it can only be opened with its key. Once again, the Warden spell is useless. This means the run fails once more as I need to take the key. Only other way to get past it would be paintbrushes and maybe a high enough acrobatics skill, but as far as I know, there isn't a single soul that gifts you a paintbrush, so that idea is rendered moot regardless. At the very least, the rest of the climb is smooth sailings until we reach the Sigil Stone. You could count the Sigil Stones as another fail I suppose, as you do need to take them, but unlike the keys, I'm not using them after I take them, I am briefly knocking them from their pedestal and then immediately dropping them. Honestly, it's kind of up in the air. Once we are back outside Kvatch, we assault the walls with the captain and his men, and miraculously, the Daedra have all respawned. I was able to defeat them all on my own before, so of course we wipe the floor with them once more now that we have backup. I can then finally convince Martin to come with me, and we leave for Wayne Priory. Yeah, we ain't staying to help out Kvatch. To complete this quest, you need to retrieve the Count's signet ring, so ultimately we would be fighting our way all the way to the end of this quest, only to be unable to finish it at the final task. Once we arrive, the Mythic Dawn are already well into their assault. Not that Martin seems to care. In fact, he seems to have dozed off. The combined efforts of me, Martin, Piner, and Joffrey quickly dispatch the red-robed robbers, unfortunately not fast enough it seems, as they still manage to get away in the confusion with the Amulet of Kings. Realising that a small open-plan house in a stable may not be the best place to hold down and protect the last true Emperor, the three of us head off to Cloudruler Temple. I guess Brother Piner is just on house-sitting duty until further notice. While the blades yell out of sync, I practice my acrobatics on the temple, as well as my cinematic Batman rooftop perching until I'm needed. After the ceremony, Joffrey invites me to join the blades, I accept, and he gifts me an Akaviri katana, the single-handed one. A suit of armour would have been way more helpful, as honestly I don't see us getting much use out of this sword. My first official task is to meet back up with Boris and see what he has learned about the Mythic Dawn since we last saw each other. Before that though, I began some AFK grinding. Not indefinitely, just the skill increases you can get from watching the two blades sparring, as well as the two hand-to-hand combatants outside the arena who seem intent on breaking each other's wrists.
Once Human is genuinely one of the strangest games I've ever played, and they just reached out to sponsor this video.
As I am in the area, I also pop into the arena itself to take part in my weekly match for some more gold. The fight was against two goblins and a troll. Ironically, the troll ended up being the easiest out of the three for some reason. Really, the only annoyance was the goblin with the shield, who was very intent on delaying his death. For murdering three somewhat innocent creatures, I am rewarded 570 gold pieces, meaning, if we do the math, a life is worth roughly 190 gold if we break it down. Rather than dwell on that, I'll just continue to use this money for training and repairs. Back to the plot, we meet up with Boris, we play a little game of follow the leader. Sadly, one of the participants gets a little too into the game and we have to kill him. This is where, the run fails once more as I need to search the man and take the book from his person. I tried seeing if Boris would take the book, but he refuses to do so. Put a pin in that sentence as I'm probably going to repeat it real soon. We take the Bloodstained Volume 1 to Darmina in the Arcane University, and she very kindly gifts us the second book in the series right away. Tracking down tomes 3 and 4 proves to be slightly more involved. There is a few ways to get the third book, but luckily for us, the way that keeps us on the right track for the run is also the most simple. I just wait for Gwyneth to purchase the book, and the moment he does, I reveal to him who the Mythic Dawn truly are, and he becomes so terrified at the idea of joining a cult of assassins that he hands us the book right away. He also points us right towards the meeting point to get the fourth book, meaning me and Boris decide to reminisce over how we first met by taking yet another delightful stroll through the sewers. Once we arrive at the meeting point, we are given a choice. Let Boris meet with the representative and we jump in when things go south, or we meet with him and he backs us up. Well, long story short, either way the outcome is the same. If we meet with them, before we can even really start conversing, Boris is spotted by the other members of the Mythic Dawn, and as a result it's an all-out brawl. I then have to loot the body off baby Cameron and once more fail the run. Letting Boris do the talking, and again, no matter what, we all start killing each other, as even if you're out of the way and outside their line of sight, the guards always alert to your presence, meaning they won't just give Boris the book. We off them again, and then we'll have to once more take the book and fail. So either way, it's yet another notch on the failure board. Taking the books of failure back to Darmina, and she tells us that there is some trick to learn from them, and that will lead us to the Mythic Dawn's hideout. We can either wait an in-game day for her to spell it out for us, or we can just go to this spot in the Palace District at 12 noon and figure it out for ourselves. Their base is just up north of Shadenhall. On the way, I end up passing by that mine I was asked to deliver the weapons to so long ago. Somehow, they've all still not been massacred by the goblins inside, and seeing how I have a suitable replacement for them by this stage, I opt to just hand over the shipment and actually do the quest. Nothing much to go over. The 3 guild members are seemingly like bloodhounds and can sniff out and locate every single goblin in the cave in a mere moments. I managed to take down a few myself, but it's not very long before I'm told that my business is concluded. I return briefly to the guild to collect my pocket money, but that's not really important. What is important is that killing those goblins has left me with an insatiable bloodlust, one that I plan to fill with the blood of the Mythic Dawn. Besides, with this bound sword, anything feels like it's possible when it comes to killing mostly unarmored enemies. Plus, the guy at the door wanted me to hand over all of my equipment. Feel like that would have been a very bad idea, all things considered, when it comes time to escape. Not to say I'm not getting hurt here, by the way. I am, so there's a lot of stabbing, waiting, slicing, waiting, etc. I also have a few doors I need to break through, meaning I'm waiting a literal day between opening them. Truly, it is a miracle that Mankar Cameron is still giving his speech by the time I make it to the altar. For what it's worth, I managed to get at least one solid shot off on Mankar before he dipped back to his paradise, so that felt good. We can do some more lasting damage, I suppose, by killing his daughter, who's in the room at the moment. She is by far the strongest individual here. The Breton's resistance to magic is probably all that was really keeping us from getting cooked here, given how many times she managed to land a shock spell on me. Once she was out of the picture, we goof once more, as we are forced to grab the Mysterium Xarxes. At the very least, we can take out our frustrations on the remainder of the cult. At this point, you could start to question who is in the wrong, seeing how they are now running away from me and not fighting back. But, as they say, history is written by the victor, and I made very sure that not a single one of them was left to tell their side of the story. Returning to Martin, he says the line that just tickles me, and then I head off to figure out this whole spies and Bruma business. It's a short quest, so I'll run through this rather fast. I wait until nightfall and then approach the 2 figures standing at the nearby runestone. Being the only one who wants access to their gifts, I slaughter them both, and then head to the guard captain in Bruma and reveal to him who the spies were, despite not having any way for us to actually identify them. Well, Bird grants me access to one of their homes. I head inside and make good use of that warden spell to break into their secret basement. Now, here is something mildly interesting. To finish up the quest here, we need to grab these plans and return them to Joffrey. However, if you just read the plans and then back out of the menu instead of taking them, the quest still updates and we can return to Joffrey and finish the quest, and he will act like we took and gave him the plans anyway. This information is quite literally not important for any other run other than this very specific one, but still, I thought it was nice to see. By now, Martin has made progress on the book and tells us we need a Daedric artifact, and now this is where things get grindy. Every single shrine bar 3 require you to present something to the shrine to start the quest. All of the items you require will either need to be looted or bought, so they are not viable. The 3 that don't require offerings are Hermaeus Mora, Nermira, and Periite. Mora is also not an option due to him not speaking to you until you've completed all the other shrines. Okay, so my initial plan was Nermira. Why? Because all she requires is for you to be level 5 and have a very low personality. I figured mine would be low enough as I put no points into it, but apparently she needed to be even lower. The only way I was doing that was by drinking things like cheap wine, and again, you guessed it, the only way I'm accessing that is by buying it. All that leaves is Periite, whose only requirement is that you be level 10. That's it. No clue why he is the only one like this, but we shall not complain. We're currently just at level 7, so it's time to grind out some skills until we hit level 10. Unfortunately, I didn't think this far ahead in Character Creator, and didn't really give myself any easy to grind skills such as most of the non-offensive magic schools. I can get a couple of skill ups from Boris for saving them in the sewers, and then I start training my heavy armor skill in the Imperial City. I may not have any heavy armor, and therefore this is a waste in terms of what I will get out of it, but currently heavy armor is my lowest major skill, and therefore it costs the least to train right now. I start doing some side quests to increase my blade and armor skills, plus the side quests in Oblivion are on average pretty fun, so it's less mind-numbing than just running around the wilderness poaching everything that comes within spitting distance of me. I start with a few Fighters Guild quests, as seeing how most of their contracts involve legally sanctioned murder, it does wonders for increasing my blade skill. This lizard woman also teaches me how to jump across the rooftops better once I agree not to rat her out to the authorities, as she has been smuggling mountain lions into the city. God, I love this game so fucking much.
Love games but hate the grind? With Wiimod, you can be invincible, unimaginably wealthy.
My time with the guild is cut very short though when I am tasked with picking up the slack for another guild apprentice and told to retrieve an item from a nearby cave. On the bright side, it's around here I reach level 8, meaning only 20 more skill increases to go, or more accurately 10, as I can at the very least pay for 5 of those lessons per level. Granted, that's assuming I have any money, so it was off to find more problems that can be solved with a good old sword arm. Luckily, the inn in Coral has 2 that fit that description perfectly. First off, I agree to help the Germains come back together, along with assisting in farm defense with Valus Udal's sons. I put both of those briefly on the back burner for the time, because as I am making my way to the farm, I come across the gate outside the city. I figure that Oblivion gates are always chock full of monsters, and that means there are copious amounts of levels to be had. So I jumped right on through. The gate outside of Coral isn't too bad, although it can be a tad tedious in areas, as you need to travel among the different towers flipping switches until you can get the right path open to the final tower. That said, I'm not going to pretend like you cannot bypass a lot of this with a high enough acrobatics skill. Seeing how the Dremora have yet to level up to the stage where they become a problem, I make the most of this opportunity by training my block skill on some of them as well. It's not exactly the fastest skill to level up, but every bit helps. With my only other opposition being Scamps and Clanfear Runts, I quickly cut a path to the Sigil Stone once more and closed the gate for good. Given that it was also the one right outside the city's walls, this also means that when the time comes to gather aid, I'll at the very least be able to request assistance from Coral right off the bat. Back to the side task at hand, I finally make my way to the farm and start helping the brothers protect their home. Luckily, the goblins are good sports about the whole ordeal and decide it's only fair to attack us one wave at a time. Clocking on to what side of the broken fence they are pushing through allows me to essentially just act like a wall and beat them down before they get a chance to attack the brothers. A couple managed to get through on the final wave, and to my surprise, the boys aren't immediately ripped to shreds. Always remembered them being weak as all hell. Maybe I'm just used to doing this mission way later when the goblins have far out-leveled them. Regardless, we clean up the last of the mess, and I can return to their father to get one of the coolest swords in the game. Pun entirely intended. Even in the single-digit levels, this sword is still remarkable. It being a short sword also makes it incredibly quick to boot. By now, enough time has passed that the Germains have met up, got reacquainted, and are now ready for the second part of their quest. They wish for me to reclaim their old house. It's a nice short and simple task. I just head south to the house and began wiping out the ogre infestation. More specifically, they are Redguard Valley ogres. They are nowhere near as strong as your typical ogre, so I can cut them down to size in seconds. There also aren't that many of them either, so it's not even that impactful to our XP gains. For my trouble, I get a measly 150 gold. So it's back to the arena once more to help line my pockets. It's the same 3 creatures as before, so nothing new here. I do a little side gambling while I'm here, and as luck would have it, the odds are in my favour, and I make a nice little sum of 200 gold. I suppose I could sit here and save scum for infinite money, but to be blunt, that sounds immensely boring, so I'll pass on that idea for now. You know what does get you good money though? Abiding by the will of the local town psychopath and agreeing to murder 3 separate individuals. Glarthir's quest involves 3 rounds of spying that reveal absolutely nothing, but I wish to remain in his good graces for my paycheck, so I tell him exactly what he wishes to hear. When he orders me to do away with them, I figured that trying to sneak into their houses with the warden spell would take far too long, so I just began chasing after them in broad daylight and hacking them apart as they tried to flee. Naturally, I am arrested, but in a weird twist, that's kind of a good thing. Like, my skills will degrade while I'm behind bars, but your progress to the next overall level won't, meaning, since I am a few levels lower on my skills, they will take less experience to level up again. Back to what's important though, I return to Glarthir and receive my 1000 gold, which I immediately spend on blunt training from Azan back in Anvil. Much like working on my heavy armor before, I am only choosing blunt because it is cheap. Thanks to this, I reach level 9, and as soon as I do, I pay for more training, and then see about getting the final handful of levels that I need. Long story short, I decide to tackle the Oblivion Gate outside of Anvil for the same reasons as before. It's full of punching bags, and that's good enough for me. This one is a bit of a double-edged sword though. While yes, it has lots of enemies to sink my teeth into, and even get enough to reach level 10 once I get back to the real world, it also has lots of enemies who are now hitting me rather hard. Even my Magicka resistance can only do so much against an onslaught of fireballs from the Flame Atronachs. Also, not helping matters is that I got lost on numerous occasions while I was here. I simply just missed the little cave entrances that I was supposed to travel through to make it to the Sigil Tower. Well, at least I wasn't having the absolute worst time here. No, that most certainly goes to this gentleman. After 20-ish minutes of being a blind idiot, the hamster in my head finally begins to pick up the pace, and I am able to find the correct entrance leading to the tower. Fighting up the tower is a repetitive process, not just here, but as in like every Oblivion Gate, as you have to do some variation of this ascent, and as of right now, it is no more difficult than what has come before. First things first, I make sure to repair my equipment. The sword is fine, my armor is another matter entirely. To stop me from repeating myself, after just about every major encounter from here on out, I must return to the local blacksmith to have my shrouded set repaired, as everything hits hard enough now to guarantee it breaking on longer than average trips. But that's not super important. What is that now after 3 hours of grinding gates and side quests, I have reached level 10 and can begin heading straight for Periite's Shrine in the hopes of getting back on track with the main quest. The shrine is right atop the H on the word Silverfish on the map, so the most direct route there is travelling to the stables outside of Breville and then just swimming east while staying close to the coast. I passed by the Breville gate and briefly contemplated going in, but we shall circle back to that later. While it's quite the walk to the shrine, nothing of interest happened on the way. Literally, the only enemy I came across was an imp.
Huh?
Arriving at the shrine, and we notice that everybody is in a deep slumber, as while they're all standing upright, attempting to talk with any of them just hits us with the such and such is unconscious message. We then touch the shrine, and Periite tells us just how badly his followers messed up, and now they are trapped in a realm of oblivion. Meaning it is our job to go in and rescue them from their own stupidity. This particular plane of oblivion is honestly not too dissimilar from the one we were just in Anvil. The only difference is there's no sigil tower, and instead, we just have to follow our compass to Periite's followers and kill whatever is holding them hostage. It's definitely one of the more straightforward, and to be honest, when compared to the rest of the Daedric quests in Oblivion, quite boring, as it is literally just running around and just fighting Daedra for about 15 minutes. So yeah, unfortunately it's one of those scenarios where the prep time to be able to access what I needed ended up being substantially longer than the end goal itself. On the bright side, I got some great use out of Chill Rent here. The weakness to frost and frost damage enchantments absolutely decimated the Flame Atronachs. The problem is it can only hit 100 times before needing to be recharged, and as I soon found out, recharging costs a lot of money. Well, a lot by comparison to what we have to work with anyway. I'm getting ahead of myself, so the quest for Periite was finished and we get the Spellbreaker, a frankly incredible shield that I am forced to give away to Martin to progress the main quest. He even acknowledges said sacrifice, which is nice. With that task finally out of the way, we can proceed to what else but more Oblivion Gates. Well, specifically the one outside of Bruma. Before that though, I take a nap and reach level 11. Oh yeah, I'm gonna keep leveling up by the way. Should keep things interesting, plus I want more points in stats like strength and endurance. It does mean that higher level variants of creatures will start to spawn more frequently. Case in point, when tackling the Oblivion Gate with Bird and the boys, we are almost exclusively fighting Flame Atronachs. That's not too bad for myself, but the Bruma guards don't have much, if any, in the way of magical defense, so I need to rest after every encounter if I want them to last more than 2 minutes. As for Bird, well, he's a raging invincible madman with a massive two-handed sword not unlike myself. In other words, he does just fine on his own. Like clockwork, it gets exponentially easier once we make it inside the tower and begin the climb. Helping matters is that the layout of the Bruma Gate is rather simplistic compared to a lot of the others, probably due to the fact that if you were just rushing through the story, this would only be your second Oblivion Gate, so they probably didn't want to make it too taxing with caves and door mechanisms. It's not too long before we make it to the final room. Sadly, in this final push, unnamed Bruma Guard 2 succumbs to his wounds at the hands of the nearby Dremora. It's a sad loss for all of us. Never again will we hear him say such iconic lines such as,
"So far, so good.
or,
So far, so good.
and who could ever forget about.
So far, so good."
With a heavy heart, we remove the stone, and then return to Joffrey, who presents us with the aid for Bruma quest. Normally, we'd only have Kvatch for quickness, but again, they aren't available this time around, but we do have Coral and Anvil. Ugh, you know what, the hell with it. I'm gonna go and get the aid from all the other cities. I mean, why not? The gates haven't proven all that difficult thus far, plus I only need to do 4 more for Shedenhall, Breville, Leyawiin and Skingrad. So yeah, I put the story on hold momentarily once more. I start with the Breville gate as I did mark it earlier. I am immediately presented with a massive gate blocking my way to the main tower. You are supposed to head to the other towers and find the switch that opens the gate, or you can just as easily do this. From here, it's an easy jaunt up the tower until yet again we swipe and drop the glowy magical orb. Leyawiin is up next, as it was the closest after all. It's a bit of a bigger area to traverse through this time around, but things only started to get dicey when I made it to the sigil chamber. I ended up getting the attention of the Daedra when I was on death's door, meaning I couldn't retreat to heal as they would follow me, and any attempt to fight them all would end in my death. Although, to my credit, I was able to take a couple of them with me before my demise. It took about 5 or so tries before it finally occurred to me that I am choosing to fight them. You don't have to beat them, you can just run by and take the stone and be done with it, as they all disappear bar a few stragglers whenever you close the gate. In other words, I end up doing just that. Now, before I tackled the Shedenhall gate, I ended up going through with the quest for Mazoga and Leyawiin. I simply forgot what the reward was and wanted to see if it would be worthwhile. Spoiler, it wasn't. All I got for my troubles was a Leyawiin shield, the same ones the guards use. Sure, me and Mazoga get to become knights, but she ends up biffing it in literally our second mission fighting some bandits. All this really served was to waste time. Well, I guess I got a level out of it, so it's not all bad. Speaking of knights, we are off to help another, as the Shedenhall gate has us rescuing the Knights of the Thorn, after they idiotically stormed the Oblivion gate in an attempt to prove their worth. It went poorly. 2 of them have survived, one of which is the Count's son, Farwell, whom I have been sent to rescue. Of course, we cannot just drag him out by his pointy ears, but rather we must now lead him to victory in closing the gate. Much like how the Bruma gate was very short and sweet despite the fact you had allies, this one seems to follow suit. Truthfully, it's a much easier gate overall, mostly just fighting scamps and the occasional Dremora. Still make sure to put everyone down for a few winks though between brawls so they don't die prematurely. I don't necessarily need the reward from the Count for Farwell's safe return, but that doesn't mean I still don't want it. Once we save the day, Farwell himself makes me an honorary member of the Knights of the Thorn and gifts us a medallion. It's an enchanted necklace that increases my speechcraft by 10 points. It's good to wear if I want to butter somebody up, but that's about it. His father, on the other hand, promises aid for Bruma, but also offers me a selection of 2 rewards. I chose the sword, simply because I like how it looks. All that leaves is Skingrad. It's off to a bit of a rough start when I'm murdered before even being able to enter the damn thing. It's fortunately not a preview of what is to come. That said, this was still the longest gate by far. There are 3 towers, including the one we need to scale. Problem is, we must venture up the other 2 to flip some levers to open the way to the main one. And no, it's not like before where we can just jump around some gates. This time the levers are connected to bridges that extend to the main tower, so I need to flip at least one of them to be able to access it. When I'm able to carve my way there and get the bridge going, I honestly couldn't remember how to get down to the bridge itself. Naturally, I would need to backtrack and find the right door, I assume, but I decided to go about this the quick way by letting the intrusive thoughts briefly win as I jumped down to the walkway below. The drop would have more than likely killed me if I did it all in one go, but thankfully I was able to land on a tiny part of the tower that was sticking out, and from there I could then somewhat safely make it down to the bridge itself. I then quickly rest and heal up before making my way to the end of this final gate. I request an audience with Sir Scrape and Lick, and he offers me the aid of his troops. Alrighty then, enough lollygagging, it's back to the main quest, and this time we are off to an old tomb to retrieve the armour of Tiber Septim. All we must do is find the reanimated remains of 4 former blades, defeat them in combat, and then wait until their ghosts return to the central chamber and dissipate the fog so that we can retrieve said armour. Sorry to make it seem so inconsequential, but these sacks of bones barely put up a fight. To put things into perspective, the two random skeletons who jumped me outside the tomb put up a better struggle than they did. The most annoying they got, I suppose, was when one of them had a disintegrating enchantment on his weapon. Don't need to explain why that's a pain. May as well have been running around naked after that one. Also, yes, I must grab the armor, so the run, once again, feels naturally. Throwing it in Martin's face, and now we need a Great Wilkenstone, one of which can be found in Miskargand, right between Kvatch and Skingrad. It's actually just a tiny bit east of the Kvatch Gate, so it's a relatively risk-free journey there. Inside, it's a bit of another story. This has to be one of the more packed dungeons when it comes to enemy encounters. It's got hordes of skeletons, zombies, goblins, and even a lich at the end. Granted, the reason for that is that they're all fighting amongst themselves. I could probably just sneak my way in, but where's the fun in that? Says the guy whose favourite franchise is in a stealth genre. I don't even really benefit much from fighting them, especially when you consider once I return to Martin, I'm essentially locked into the end of the story without much time for sleeping. That said, I slaughter all I come across anyway, simply because I can. Just like outside Sancretor before, the skeletons here take the longest to put down, followed by the zombies, and then finally goblins, who are kinda pathetic all things considered. I say that, but the zombies didn't fare much better. Due to their slow speed, along with the range of my greatsword, they were never able to get close enough to land a single strike on me. As for the King Lich of Miskargand, well, a quick frontal assault is enough to deal with that whole can of worms. His magic still hits pretty hard. He could have easily been a huge threat if not for the fact that he only fired a single spell at me. Not helping matters for him is that each hit pushes him back even just a little bit, so even his undead reinforcements aren't able to hit me as I just keep moving us both out of the way. Oh, and yes, I grabbed the stone, run field, yada yada yada, it's now time to assault the Great Gate. At least we can see the fruits of our labours as we can witness the aid sent from all the other cities. It amounts to a single soldier each. Well, they are at least a tad more reliable than the militia you would have otherwise. For a nice change of pace, the Daedra decide to bring their A-game for the assault on Bruma, meaning we are now contending with Daedroths and fully grown Clanfears. First try, and things are off to a decent start. The big problem really is the Clanfears. They stun me easily, plus again, hurting them has some of my own damage reflected on me, meaning no matter how well I play here, I am going to be taking damage, assuming I don't just let my allies deal with them. Eventually, I am taken down after I get rushed by some Dremora. Next try, far too many potshots managed to whittle me down to the point where a Flame Atronach hits me so hard it knocks me straight to the reload screen without even getting to see my body fall to the ground. Third try, and I stop just trying to be the centre of attention. By staying back out of the way and only attacking those that approach me, I'm able to survive just long enough for the Great Gate to spawn in, and can then begin booking it to the Great Sigilstone.
The Prince of Destruction awakes. Find your own path.
I ignore most of the enemies on the way, as they will probably one-shot me if I let them. In perhaps one of the biggest goofs of the entire run, I only now remembered that you are given a healing spell right off the bat, so I could have been healing myself this entire time technically. I don't use it much, mind you, but just enough to make sure I don't get taken out instantly by something I didn't see coming. Although, that did still happen on a couple of occasions. The Warden spell comes in clutch once again as a way for me to unlock the final door leading to the top of the Sigil Tower, and after avoiding a small handful of Dremora, I can take the stone, fail, and succeed at closing the Great Gate. As per usual, we lost Captain Bird, Joffrey, and Boris. Boris in particular seems to have just stabbed himself in the heat of the moment. With all the fetch quests complete, we can finally open the door to Cameron's Paradise and see about wrapping things up. The garden where we begin is mostly filled with Daedroths. Luckily for us, they are spread far enough apart that I can just rest in between each fight, so I am healthy again for when the next one comes. When we meet with Cathutet, the only Dremora who is smart enough to strike up a conversation with us, we are hit with a choice on how to proceed. We can either fight him in a duel to the death and take the bands of the Chosen from his body which are needed to proceed, or we can offer him a service and be rewarded them instead. The choice here should be a no-brainer. The task is a simple one: free Zivilian Axis, who is being held in a nearby cave. Other than a single Clanfear at the entrance, there is nothing that will oppose you here. Even the people who are trying to keep him trapped won't attempt to stop you from freeing him. So within a couple of minutes we return to the Dremora and are given the bands. Now the issue here is we will need to remove our armour to wear them. On the bright side though, there isn't much combat in this section, so long as we play along with Eldamil's little plan anyway. I get into a couple of scraps on the way, but once again, despite how tough the encounters may be, I can prevail and then lay my head down on the nearby spiky rocks to get back to full health. Back outside, and we are greeted by both of Minecraft's children, whom we killed before. Well, they couldn't stand up to me earlier when they had substantial backup, and I've only grown stronger since those fights, so yes, they get brushed aside rather easily. Beating them out here is also super helpful for the upcoming fight with Minecraft Cameron himself. While, yes, his children may be immortal, they are on a timer until they can respawn. By dealing with them out here, we can then rush into the throne room and start attacking Cameron before they get a chance to come and help dear old dad. Eldemil is also backing me up, so for once it's a 2-on-1 in my favour. Minecraft Cameron doesn't have a whole lot in the way of physical defense, so we can cut him down to size and be done with him in a rather anticlimactic fashion. Also, yes, we messed up the challenge one final time by looting the amulet off his body before being transported back to Cloudroller Temple and handing it off to Martin. Okay, so not to downplay the literal climax of the story, but after the Daedra attack the Imperial City, all you and Martin have to do is walk through a grand total of 2 area transitions before he unleashes his animality and just bites and burns the shit out of Dagon, sending him running home to hell. I then watch Martin get stoned, finishing the game, and proving you really cannot beat Oblivion with only gifts and rewards. Like I said, gotta be the fastest a run has ever failed. Probably the most times a run has failed throughout a video as well. Still, I enjoy the concept, and you did all vote for this, and it would be kind of underwhelming if the video only lasted 2 minutes. Although, it would have been kind of funny. I'll take any chance I can get to play Oblivion, and I'm hoping you all enjoyed the run as well, as I do have another idea for a much shorter Oblivion video that I may try and get out before the end of the year, but we shall see. I've got a couple of other runs I really want to get to first. Plus, I think I should finally bite the bullet and finish that Caltraps run in Fallout 4 I started over a year ago. Regardless, that's going to be the end of this challenge video. If you enjoyed what you saw, consider giving the video a like. If you're interested in more challenges in the future, feel free to subscribe to try and run these videos out fairly frequently. My name's Nurbert, stay safe everyone, I'll see y'all in the next video.
So it's you. Our time spent with one another is precious.
Humanity never conceals its desire to control the heavens, and I'm no exception.
Rules are made to be broken.
You won't get away.
The sanctuary is but a vision. Break!
I weep for the departed. It too shall fall. You won't get away. On the still waters of oblivion. You won't get away.
Humanity never conceals its desire to control the heavens, and I'm no exception.
Destined for oblivion. I weep for the departed. It too shall fall. You won't get away.
Humanity never conceals its desire to control the heavens, and I'm no exception. Do not worry. My curse is a blessing on the battlefield. Danger approaches.
Survive or be destroyed. There is no other choice.
Wilt here.
You won't get away.
As you wish.
Rules are made to be broken.
You won't get away.
Humanity never conceals its desire to control the heavens, and I'm no exception. Wilt here. As you wish.
Survive or be destroyed. There is no other choice.
You won't get away.
Wiltier.
You won't get away.
As you wish.
Rules are made to be broken.
Humanity never conceals its desire to control the heavens, and I'm no exception. Wiltier. As you wish.
Survive or be destroyed. There is no other choice.
You won't get away.
Wiltier.
You won't get away.
As you wish. Humanity never conceals its desire to control the heavens, and I'm no exception. Wiltier.
Rules are made to be broken.
As you wish.
Survive or be destroyed. There is no other choice.
You won't get away.
Wiltier.
I'll leave her rest. See you.
You won't get away.
As you wish. Humanity never conceals its desire to control the heavens, and I'm no exception.
Look! We've already come so far!
Even before the abyss of a black hole. We still have a choice.
Stay calm.
Just a scratch.
Barely felt it!
Suppress. How familiar. Still waters of oblivion.
Rules are made to be broken.
I weep for the departed. It too shall fall.
Barely felt it!
Destined for oblivion. I weep for the departed. It too shall fall. Suppress. Still waters of oblivion.
Humanity never conceals its desire to control the heavens, and I'm no exception.
I weep for the departed. It too shall fall.
Survive or be destroyed. There is no other choice.
You won't get away.
Destined for oblivion. I weep for the departed. It too shall fall.
While devotion to public tasks is a must, this fatigue is somewhat overwhelming.
Wanna guess how many more cups of coffee?
Rules are made to be broken.
Open sesame. Impressive, almost. Expand your thinking.
You won't get away.
Open sesame.
Survive or be destroyed. There is no other choice.
Expand your thinking.
Humanity never conceals its desire to control the heavens, and I'm no exception.
Rules are made to be broken.
Open sesame.
You won't get away. Play like how you usually.
Expand your thinking.
Just a scratch.
Impressive, almost. Open sesame.
You won't get away.
Survive or be destroyed. There is no other choice.
Expand your thinking. Open sesame.
Rules are made to be broken.
Impressive, almost. Expand your thinking.
Humanity never conceals its desire to control the heavens, and I'm no exception.
You won't get away.
Open sesame. My fighting skills have improved. I should let my mom know.
Stay calm. Survive or be destroyed. There is no other choice. Stand down.
You won't get away.
Rules are made to be broken. The sanctuary is but a vision. Break!
Humanity never conceals its desire to control the heavens, and I'm no exception.
Just a scratch.
You won't get away.
Survive or be destroyed. There is no other choice. Rules are made to be broken. I'm fine. I'll leave the rest to you.
Barely felt it. Even before... Again? Destined for oblivion.
Humanity never conceals its desire to control the heavens, and I'm no exception.
Rules are made to be broken.
I weep for the departed. It too shall fall.
A doctor never stops learning. Play like how you used
Stay calm.
Open sesame.
Just a scratch. Survive or be destroyed. There is no other choice.
Expand your thinking.
You won't get away.
Open sesame. Expand your thinking.
Humanity never conceals its desire to control the heavens, and I'm no exception.
to be broken. Survive or be destroyed. There is no other choice.
You won't get away. Expand your thinking. Open sesame. Expand your thinking. You won't get away. Open sesame.
Survive or be destroyed. There is no other choice.
Expand your thinking.
Humanity never conceals its desire to control the heavens, and I'm no exception.
Rules are made to be broken. I'm fine.
Open sesame.
Stop.
Spread those positive vibes and watch the good luck follow.
So it's...
Stay calm. Survive or be destroyed. There is no other choice.
Still waters of oblivion. I weep for the departed. It too shall fall. Destined for oblivion.
You've got a lot of nerve.
I weep for the departed. It too shall fall. Still waters of oblivion.
Rules are made to be broken.
Humanity never conceals its desire to control the heavens, and I'm no exception.
I weep for the departed. It too shall fall.
Survive or be destroyed. There is no other choice.
Destined for oblivion. I weep for the departed. It too shall fall.
call that a build update? What?
Your call. I can take either side. The fearless knows not fear. Too slow. I won't do. Forever. Triumphant! Victory is inevitable! Never hesitate! The fearless knows not fear. Too slow. I won't do.
I'm fine.
You've got a lot of nerve.
Survive or be destroyed. There is no other choice.
Forever. Triumphant! Victory is inevitable!
You won't get away.
Humanity never conceals its desire to control the heavens, and I'm no exception.
Rules are made to be broken.
Never hesitate! That's better. Forever. Triumph! Victory is inevitable! The fearless knows not fear. I won't do.
Violence is the ultimate means, and it is also my only means.
Your call. I can take either side. How about a one-on-one? Never hesitate! Too slow.
Just a scratch.
Barely felt it.
Humanity never conceals its desire to control the heavens, and I'm no exception.
Forever. Triumphant! Victory is inevitable! The fearless knows not fear. Too slow. The redemption.
Survive or be destroyed. There is no other choice.
Forever. Triumphant! Victory is inevitable!
Rules are made to be broken.
Never hesitate! The fearless knows not fear. I won't do. Judgment is here. For your sins!
Humanity never conceals its desire to control the heavens, and I'm no exception.
Nice! I should write this into my next song.
Wanna guess how many more cups of coffee you need to down before we finish this fight?
If push comes to shove, I'm counting on you, Himeko.
Stay calm.
Watch this awesome move!
Survive or be destroyed. There is no other choice.
Expand your thinking.
You can't run!
You won't get away.
Humanity never conceals its desire to control the heavens, and I'm no exception.
Open sesame. Expand your thinking. Open sesame.
Survive or be destroyed. There is no other choice.
You won't get away. Expand your thinking.
Watch this awesome move!
Open sesame. Expand your thinking.
You can't run!
Survive or be destroyed. There is no other choice.
You won't get away.
Humanity never conceals its desire to control the heavens, and I'm no exception.
Open sesame. Expand your thinking. Open sesame.
Try that again!
You won't get away. Expand your thinking.
Watch this awesome move!
Survive or be destroyed. There is no other choice.
Open sesame. Expand your thinking.
I'm fine.
You can't run!
Open sesame. You won't get away.
Humanity never conceals its desire to control the heavens, and I'm no exception.
Double the pay! Double the service! Watch this magic trick. You deserve my attention. To the soul. Look, with this divine power, I reforge all things.
Enemy data secured. Net markers activated. Time for good old counterattack. Expand your thinking. Curiosity. Endless riddle. Nothing but a void. Open sesame. Watch it crumble.
Insanity. I'll see you off.
Eternal sleep is not the end.
The dead return!
Enemy data secured. Net markers activated. Time for good old counterattack.
Look, with this divine power, I reforge all things.
Never seen perfection before? Expand your thinking. Curiosity. Endless riddle. Nothing but a void. Enemy data secure. Net markers activated. Time for good old counterattack.
Something out of nothing. Go to the soul. For the fear of the mediocre.
Dangerous thoughts. Harmony and unison. Let the valuation begin. Go Nappy! Night. Stars echo.
Sure, I'll play along. Spend freely.
I'm asking questions.
Easy, Numby.
No dirty tricks already. Watch your head.
SAS per Kibbe. Knowledge, the measure of truth and falsehood.
Low risk, high reward.
Hedge your bets.
Your answers? Answer me.
The dice have been cast. Bust. Or maybe I'll take it all. Oh.
0 points.
The market is unpredictable. Right! Investing in victory means playing the long game!
May song bring us victory.
Ribbit trip!
Enemy ahead. Stay calm. Stand down.
Time for an overhaul.
I've no interest in conflict.
You know nothing. Survive or be destroyed. There is no other choice.
The truth of life in this sanctuary is but a vision. Quick!
I have something for you.
My turn! Try that again!
Fighting is meaningless.
Let's begin.
You won't get away. Clearly so. You can't run! Gotta try hard. Watch this awesome move!
Perhaps humanity never can see as its desire to control the heavens, and I'm no exception.
Tough luck running into me! You're annoying!
I'm on it, well. We need a strategy.
Stay calm.
The truth of life is sanctuary is but a vision. Quick! Just a scratch.
Time for an overhaul.
Let's make it quick. Rules are made to be broken.
You won't get away.
No interest in conflict.
You know nothing of the survive or be destroyed. There is no other choice.
Just a scratch.
I have something for you. Perhaps humanity never can see as its desire to control the heavens, and I'm no exception.
Let's begin.
Time for an
This.
thirst for discovery is truly boundless.
Let me see. This is the temporal terminal. Observes the potential of the temporal plane. They say this terminal is designed to retrieve information related to time. That should do it.
What? You just matched up those symbols. Is that it?
The more complex something is, the more important it is to keep it simple. Don't you think?
If it's so simple, why didn't your master diviner come and do it herself?
Maybe deep down she just wants to be lazy once in a while. Like me.
Stand down.
Reach the end of the story in your own way. Too late to repent.
You won't get away.
Time for an overhaul.
Let's begin.
Too late to repent.
I have some.
Reach the end of the story in your own way.
Too late to repent. Time for an over.
You won't get away.
Leave it to Let's make it quick.
Rules are made to be broken.
I have something for you.
You won't get away.
Stand down.
Fighting.
No match for me.
You won't get away.
Too late to repent. Time for an over.
Let's begin.
This must be the Karma Terminal. They say this terminal is designed to establish the causal relationships between objects. Done. Next.
Leave it to me.
to repent.
I have something for you.
Let's go.
Stand down. You know nothing of survive or be destroyed. There is no other choice.
You won't get away. Too late to repent.
Perhaps humanity never conceals its desire to control the heavens, and I'm no exception.
Let's make it quick.
Let's begin.
Time for an overhaul.
Let's go.
Rules are made to be broken.
Reach the end of the story in your own way.
Stay. Stand down.
You won't get away. Too late to repent. The truth of life and death. The sanctuary is but a vision. Break! Fighting is meaningless.
Leave it to me.
I have something for you.
I'll leave the rest.
Let's make it quick.
To you.
You won't get away.
Perhaps humanity never conceals its desire to control the heavens, and I'm no exception.
Rules are made to be broken.
Oh, how nice.
Let's begin.
Too late to repent.
One step closer to the stars.
You won't get away.
Reach the end of the story in your own way. Is that all?
Oh, what the heck is this? It looks like a walking gate.
Take it easy. There's nothing supernatural on the Joe. It's an arumaton. It's guarding the Matrix of Prescience. They're stationed at various strategic places.
I feel like it needs a sign saying mortals forbidden or something. Are you sure it won't fly into a rage if we walk past it?
We're here by order of the Master Diviner to restart the Matrix of Prescience. Friends, not foes.
Passage prohibited.
March! You should join the Divination Commission. Quick, do something!
Stay calm.
Rules are made to be broken.
You won't get away.
Let's begin.
I have something for.
I've no interest in conflict. The truth of life and death is sexual. It's but a vision. Break!
You know not survive or be destroyed. There is no other choice.
Perhaps humanity never conceals its desire to control the heavens, and I'm no exception.
Leave it to me. Let's begin. Stand down.
Let's go. Reach the end of the story in your own way.
You won't get away. Time for an overhaul.
Leave it to me.
guess. Time, karma. I bet the next terminal is energy related.
Darn, the spatial terminal. They say this terminal is designed to retrieve information related to space. You probably could have hit.
Stand down.
Too late to repent. Rules are made to be broken.
You won't get away.
Perhaps humanity never conceals its desire to control the heavens, and I'm no exception.
Let's make it quick.
Fine.
Let's begin.
You won't get away.
Too late to repent.
You won't get away.
Perhaps humanity never conceals its desire to control the heavens, and I'm no exception.
Time for some hardship. Stand down. You know nothing. Survive or be destroyed. There is no other choice.
You won't get away.
The truth of life and death. The sanctuary is but a vision. Quick!
This is our chance.
I've no interest in conflict.
I'll leave the rest.
Let's go.
To you.
Is that all?
We did it. All 3 terminals activated. Let's go back to the core and report to the Master Diviner.
Well done, all of you. I can sense the matrix of prescient symbols re-illuminating. Now, to interrogate Kafka. Those of you in the core may feel a few impacts. Are you ready?
Is this really necessary? I said I'd cooperate with you.
I have no interest in the words of wanted criminals, especially those skilled in the art of manipulation. So, say what you will. I'm here to witness the divination of the Matrix of Prescience. The Divination Commission has ways of extracting the truth, and they're far more effective than a conversation.
Then please, Master Diviner, witness my destiny.
That's why you're here? All for that?
Well, not what you were expecting.
I can't believe it. But the Matrix of Prescience cannot be wrong. has nothing to do with the Stellaron, but you. It's you. Absurd. I'd never have thought it. Ask her yourself. Take as long as you wish. I must report this to the General immediately. Please excuse me.
You go ask her. I know you still have many questions for Kafka yourself.
Hi. You haven't changed a bit. I'm sorry you have to see me in such a sorry state. Concerned about me? I'm fine. The Cienjo is always courteous with its captives. I didn't talk to you on the train because I knew you and I would get to talk alone here. Worth waiting for, don't you think? You seem to have a lot to ask me. Elio said he foresaw 3 questions, but they would be the same in essence. If I were to hear one of them, I would then tell you the objective of this trip in all its detail. Since you asked one of the 3 questions, it means everything is going smoothly. Are you ready to hear my answer? Cienjo's Stellaron problem is not directly linked to us. But if you look at it from Elio's perspective, you can't say the Stellaron hunters are completely innocent. We foresaw all this long ago, but chose to remain indifferent until the time was right for us to get involved. Diviner Fu was surprised because she discovered 3 truths. 1. The Stellaron hunters are not enemies of the Cienjo. You know this now, though you refuse to believe it. 2. Someone else brought the Stellaron into the Cienjo and activated it. A result of both internal unrest and external aggression. Traitors on the Luofu and enemies from outside want to overthrow the Cienjo. The Master Diviner is in a hurry to find the General, presumably to inform him of this fact. However, that's all the Master Diviner knows, because Elio withheld key pieces of information from me. He foresaw the Divination Commission using the Matrix of Prescience against me. To guard against setbacks, he ensured that I knew only what he wanted the Cienjo Alliance to know in this moment. As for number 3, even in their wildest dreams, the Cienjo Alliance could never have guessed it. If the Stellaron hunters aren't the cause of all this, then why are Blady and I even here? We're here for you. Sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? It's no wonder Fu Shen doesn't believe it either. But the Matrix of Prescience doesn't lie. The answer is just that bizarre. The Stellaron hunters appearing here, Blady getting arrested, me being lured to the Matrix of Prescience. It was all to bring you, the Astral Express crew, to the Cienjo. In the future that Elio chose, the power of the hunt is indispensable. And that's why the Astral Express crew had to come to the Luofu and achieve something important for the Cienjo. You had to establish a connection with the Alliance. And that's why I had to trick you into coming here. I needed you to meet the Lafu's general in person, and to help him resolve the Stellaron crisis. I needed the Alliance to owe you a favor. That way, in the future, at the most critical moment, the Cienjo will offer you their help. What do you think? Surprised? The notorious Stellaron hunters did all that just to make you a hero of the Cienjo? Quite the plot twist, don't you think? Like I said, Elio withheld key pieces of information from me. The future holds endless possibilities. Knowing the right thing at the wrong time could spoil all our hard work. There is only one thing I can tell you about the future. In the best and the worst cases, you will eventually have to face Nanook the Destruction. And when that time comes, you will need all the help you can get. It will be a brutal struggle of eonic proportions. Proportions that neither you, nor I, nor the Astral Express will ever be able to reach. In the vast majority of futures, that's when destiny ends. But if we follow Elio's plan, there may be a glimmer of hope on the horizon. You know, even eons can be killed.
Hey, Lorcha. You didn't finish telling us about the propagation. Keep going, it's interesting. So, neons can die, huh? Weird. I thought they were invincible.
There is no true invincibility or immortality in the world. Such exaggerations are born of the perspectives of ordinary beings. Nonetheless, ordinary beings could not have orchestrated the fall of the propagation. That eon was slain at the hands of another eon.
I don't understand. They're all eons. Why do they want to fight?
Are you really from the Cienjo? Other eons aside, surely you must know the story of Lan and Yaosha. Isn't destroying the Eon Yaosha the Alliance's cherished aim?
Of course I know. Well, I know a little. My mom made me practice with swords all day. I didn't really go to school.
In that case, let's just change the subject. If you don't know about the feud between the Hunt and the Abundance, I'm afraid there's just too much to explain.
Fine. How's this for a subject? What's in the box?
Oh, this one? It's a casket, more commonly known as a coffin. It's for containing the remains of the deceased.
The deceased? Aren't you a merchant?
Yes, indeed. This is just part of my job. I was asked to deliver this coffin to the Xianzhou. Ah, I'd quite forgotten. For long life species, death is probably a distant concept.
Nope. The Cloud Knights spend a lot of time on the battlefield. Death is a common occurrence. It's just, we don't put bodies in boxes? Coffins. In the Xianzhou, people go to the Hall of Karma in the Ten Lords Commission and consecrate the names and jade abacuses of the dead. It's our way of saying goodbye. The Foxians and the Videodora have their own ceremonies. Foxian soldiers place their dead in stars gifts and then let them drift out into the stars. They call it the Verdantia returning. As for the Videodora, they're more mysterious. They say that when a Videodora is very old or has a fatal injury, they turn into an egg that looks like a pearl. When the shell breaks, they come out looking young again. My mom calls the Videodora long scions. When I was young, she told me stories of how the Videodora could turn into dragons. I don't know if that's true. What do you know? Silent but deadly speaks.
Your mother is right. The Videodora are long scions. They are descendants of the Eon of Permanence. That was why some, but not all, could turn into dragons. The power was a rare inheritance, passed down only to those who could successfully complete numerous rites and challenges. For the inheritor, it was hard to say whether it was a blessing or a curse.
I've heard the story of Long the Permanence and their descendants. Many myths and legends praise the Eon for a rich and immortal life. But for some reason, the Eon disappeared among the stars without a trace. Almost as if they had never existed, leaving only their descendants. Every life has its limit. Even the Eons are not truly immortal and will eventually reach the end of their lives.
Let me ask you one more question. Do you know the person in the coffin?
Yes.
Friend?
No.
So, Sweetheart?
Miss, whatever gave you that impression? The individual in the coffin is neither friend nor relative. We met only once. By chance, I made someone a promise, and so I have to run this errand. Let's leave it at that, shall we? I think we've all had enough rest.
This will strengthen our position.
You're not going anywhere! Wanna see what I can do?
Fighting is meaningless. I'll stop. I've no interest in.
You receive divinity. Eternal, the dead return!
Mara struck.
It looks like someone's hurt.
Wait. Let's think before we act. This will strengthen our position.
Silent but deadly. Locha, let's charge in together. If we take them out quickly, we can rescue the girl.
What happened to us letting you handle it?
I've only got 2 hands. Please, I'll wangle you a prize for your bravery or something when it's all over.
Enough. Let's go.
You're not going anywhere. Let me through.
Bloom, don't worry about me. Fighting is meaningless.
Take this! Surprise Venus!
The truth of life and death. The sanctuary is but a vision. Quick!
Wanna see what I can do?
The dead return!
Miss, are you okay?
What do you think?
Sorry, I didn't see any blood, so I thought you were okay. You're a puppet.
My motor is broken. I can't move. Are you a Cloud Knight? Good. Take me to the Realm Keeping Commission.
Locha, silent but deadly. I'm afraid we have to delay things again. This lady is one of the judges of the Ten Lords Commission. As a Cloud Knight, I must prioritize her orders. I'm sorry. If I'd known, I wouldn't have got you to come with me. You'd probably be there by now if you'd gone by yourself.
I happen to have some medical knowledge. Perhaps I can treat the young lady's injuries?
Well, it's just... she's a puppet. I think we should just take her to the Realm Keeping Commission.
Don't worry, Miss Sushang. Leave it to me. You might get an aching or numbing sensation, but it shouldn't be too painful. Do you think you can hold still?
It won't work. My body is mechanical, not flesh and blood.
Be it mechanical or organic, we're still dealing with composite substances. I just hope you'll tolerate my methods.
Huh. Curious.
How... oh, what kind of medical knowledge is this?
Abundance.
Very good. We, no longer need to return to the Realm Keeping Commission. The mission continues. As a judge in the employ of the Ten Lords Commission, I am forbidden from interfering in the affairs of outsiders. However, seeing as you came to my aid, a word of advice. Leave as soon as possible. I came to address the root of our crisis by arresting a fugitive, a Stellaron hunter. This villain possesses exceptional swordsmanship and wields a divine weapon. They are extremely dangerous. If it hadn't been for a strange accident, my wakespan might have been cut short.
Strange accident?
Come with me. I've never seen anything like it.
You know, even eons can be killed. Is it so unthinkable? There are many stories about fallen eons. Lon the Permanence, Drilla the Beauty, Anna the Order, Tazeronth the Propagation, Akivili the Trailblaze. These names were once known all over the universe. Now they've all but disappeared, leaving behind only masterless paths. And currently, there are 3 ways an eon can perish known to humanity. 1. Paths with overlapping concepts will eventually collide, and the broader path will engulf the narrower one. That's how Enna the Order was assimilated by Shipe the Harmony. 2. In a war between eons, the stronger side will annihilate the weaker one. That's how Tazeronth the Propagation fell. Under the guidance of the Hunt, the Cienjo Alliance travels the universe exterminating abominations cultivated by the Abundance. So, the Cienjo, too, are engaged in this process. I don't know. Akavili's disappearance was very mysterious. Noose is probably the only one that can answer that question. After all, Droid Head knows everything. What do you think? Fascinating stories, no? They're the kind of stories that folks on the straight and narrow would never tell you. Hold on. Any minute now. It's begun. Let's go, Blady. 2 more places to visit.
Did Kafka escape? How are we gonna explain this to the Master Diviner?
If what she said is true, we won't have to explain anything.
Hey, did she brainwash you? the dead tree Qingque showed us earlier? How did it grow all of a sudden?
Amazing! Absolutely amazing! Even the long-lived might not witness something like this in their lifetime. I'm so lucky!
Such extraordinary energy. It's the Stellaron.
Mr. Yang, do you mean the Stellaron is making the ambrosial arbor grow?
Yes, the Stellaron the Cloud Knights are searching for must be causing this anomaly.
Nice. Let's go.
You won't get away.
Perhaps you still humanity never conceals its desire to control the heavens, and I'm no exception.
Stand down.
I've no interest.
You won't get away.
I have something for you. Time for an overhaul.
Let's make it quick. Rules are made to be broken. Reach the end of the story in your own way.
Unless Kafka deceived the Matrix of Prescience.
Stay calm, Diviner Fu. The matrix of prescience does not lie. The logic you have laid out concerning Kafka makes sense. It has helped me to fill in another piece of the puzzle. I agree there is a hostile external force at work on the Luofu. The Stellaron didn't appear out of thin air. Someone managed to sneak it onto the ship. As for the culprits behind the Luofu's internal strife, I believe we are dealing with the so-called Disciples of Sanctus Medicus. That shadowy organization of the denizens of abundance. Kafka's revelations confirm my suspicions.
General, when did you have these suspicions?
The moment the planter of the Stellaron revealed himself. The Xianzhou has the blessing of the Rainbow Arbiter, and only another Eon's Emanator would be capable of sneaking onto this ship without my knowing. We are dealing with an external threat. The Stellaron corrosion continues to flood into the ship, and yet it bypassed both the seat of divine foresight and the shackling prison. There is forethought here. Our enemy must have had access to Luofu intelligence for things to unfold in this way. It is evident now. The Stellaron hunters aren't the ones behind the curtain. No. As soon as I set eyes on Blade, it was clear to me. But why is he here? And why did he draw the Astral Express? That piece of the puzzle still eludes me. Nevertheless, Lady Fu, your intel means the puzzle is more complete than it was before. These Stellaron hunters are a captivating group. Such lengths to get the Xianzhou and the Express onto the same track. Who would have believed it?
General, we must retain all urgency. The Ambrosial Arbor.
It's the Stellaron. No need to search high and low. The traders have planted it in the Ambrosial Arbor's delve, thereby causing the tree to grow once again. The disciples of Sanctus Medicus couldn't hold off any longer.
Every crisis is a turning point. A problem is easier to resolve when you know where it lies. Am I coming up with a plan again?
Of course. I'm sure you have a countermeasure at the ready, Master Diviner.
From my perspective, convening the Cloud Knights is our immediate priority. We must head into the roots of the Ambrosial Arbor, expel the Stellaron spirits, and prevent the Arbor's resurrection.
As ever, the Master Diviner's omniscia provides for the fastest solution. However, sometimes speed is not everything. I have known the Stellaron's location for a while now. So why have I held back our forces?
General?
Well?
You're a scoundrel.
Pulling up the grass requires removing the roots. The disciples of Sanctus Medicus have chosen to make their move now, which means the Cloud Knights have the situation under control and the traders have run out of patience. Now is the time to capture them all in one fell swoop.
You've been sitting on that this whole time? How will you justify the losses if something goes wrong, General?
Please, Lady Fu, I still have forces to deploy. We were in need of extra hands, and the Stellaron hunters were kind enough to bring us together with the Astral Express. How could I look the other way?
That massive tree has suddenly sprung to life. It's my fault. I had higher expectations of the General. Please, we can't keep getting them to do everything for us. Since when did we run out of people on the Luofu? Why are you staring at me? Do I need to remind you, General, that the Ambrosial Arbor's access point is a closely guarded secret? Allowing Outworlders would be...
a violation of the rules and regulations. I would like to remind you, Lady Fu, that the Xianzhou comes before its rules and regulations, all the more so in times of crisis. As such, I am about to make a decision that runs counter to those rules and regulations. Oh, Decisions, plural. What a rare pleasure. Lady Fu, I hereby issue you with the military tally. The Cloud Knights will be under your control. You will act in concert with the other forces in the approach to the Ambrosial Arbor through the Alchemy Commission Delve.
Under my control?
You've been eager to discover for yourself what it is to be a general, have you not?
You've never given me the opportunity, and now suddenly... Understood. As you wish.
As for our astral friends, I hereby formally welcome you all to join our operation to seal the Stellaron. Lady Fu will deploy the Cloud Knights, but I would like you to set off in advance. Take a shortcut through the Artisanship Commission and convene with Lady Fu further down the line. This is no order, honored guests. I'm merely stating what needs to be done should you wish to help us.
You've never really seen us as outsiders, huh?
Miss Tingyun, I would like you to continue to serve as a guide for our astral friends.
Of course, General. I am duty-bound.
The Alchemy Commission and Scale Gorge Waterscape delves are adjacent to the Ambrosial Arbor's seal. I'd like you to investigate these places. It is an ancient artifact that was planted on the Xianzhou Luofu by Yaoshe, the Eon of Abundance. It has the power to shape life and subdue death at will. The ancestors of the Luofu people consumed the fruits of the Ambrosial Arbor and gained endless lifespans, thus becoming long-life species.
Oh, sounds like an amazing treasure.
Yes. It was also the bane of everything to come. As outsiders, you are unfamiliar with the history of the Xianzhou. I cannot blame you for asking a question like this. Let me tell you a story. Long ago, before the Xianzhou took to the skies, our ancestors lived on the surface of a planet. Like all of you, the Xianzhou people at that time were a mortal species with a lifespan of fewer than 100 years. There was a time when the ruling emperor could not bear his temporary existence, or the thought of his life's achievements being lost to another after his death. He became fixated on acquiring an elixir of immortality, and focused his power on constructing a fleet of 9 ships. These ships would voyage into deep space, where traces of gods were rumored to exist.
Did he succeed?
Yes, and no. He succeeded because, after an arduous journey, the 9 ships eventually witnessed the manifestation of a god. Yaoshe's appearance provided for all manner of unfathomable celestial blessings. However, he failed because the fleet has been lost ever since, and has never been able to return to its home planet.
That doesn't sound so bad. The Xianzhou people went on a great adventure and got what they wanted in the end. Right?
Oh? Our ancestors once thought so too, but the miracle of longevity was nothing more than a vain dream. Take the Luofu, for example. Immortality seemed like a beautiful thing. But what followed was population expansion and diminishing resources. In the struggle for survival, the immortals lost their humanity and degenerated into mere beasts. After paying the price with blood and tears, the Luofu people finally understood that immortality was not a free blessing, but the beginning of a cruel ordeal. In the eras that followed, other beings that had likewise received Yaoshe's blessings repeatedly attacked the Xianzhou in an attempt to take the sacred artifact as their own. Countless atrocities were committed as a result. Many Xianzhou comrades who were lucky enough to survive the wars became stricken with Mara, a condition that immortals are susceptible to. Had it not been for the enlightenment and protection of the Rainbow Arbiter, the Xianzhou Alliance you see today would never have existed. At this point in the story, I assume you understand the disasters that the resurrection of the Ambrosial Arbor might bring about? Thousands of years have passed since the Rainbow Arbiter felled the Ambrosial Arbor. Most in the Xianzhou regard the Arbor as nothing more than the stump of a dead tree. Only those familiar with our history and the ancient texts know of its origin. Our ancestors placed the stump in full view of the people precisely to make it seem unimportant. But in fact, they sealed it behind layers upon layers of delve enchantment. Even if one travels toward the Ambrosial Arbor, one will never reach it. Someone brought a Stellaron into the Xianzhou and planted it among the roots of the Ambrosial Arbor. They wish to resurrect it and achieve their hidden goal through external aggression. In my opinion, the force that provided the Stellaron and the force that activated it have different objectives. I have asked Fu Shen to open a shortcut to the Divination Commission for you.